Good afternoon. Hello, welcome. My name is George Wright. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the head of social media here at my G-Work, the LGBTQ plus business community. If you've not heard of us before, we're a platform for professionals, graduates, and inclusive companies to come together and build networks and connect with one another. Look, we work with over 300 inclusive organizations. VMware is one of them, and you can check out all of their jobs and opportunities over on their page on our platform, but come together to host events like these, as well as LGBTQ plus news and other such events. But I've got more on that at the end. In the meantime, however, we are joined this afternoon by three wonderful members of staff from VMware, and I suppose we might as well get straight into our introductions. So, Jack, would you mind just introducing yourself to our audience?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jack. I'm a partner marketing manager here at VMware. I've been in the tech industry for about 8 years now. But yeah, I've been at VMware the past year and a half.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Joris, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is Joris, originally from Belgium. I'm tuning in from Belgium, actually, but I'm based in Barcelona in the office there. My role at VMware is a partner sales associate, and I joined actually the company 1.5 years ago through the Academy program, which is an amazing program to get into the whole tech world, but on a slow pace version.
Excellent. And finally, Mairead, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Laflin. I am currently the University Relationship Manager, but soon to become the Emerging Talent Manager, because we're expanding kind of how we look at younger, early in career talent. I've been with VMware for close to 5 years. I'm actually due to go out and have a baby in the next couple of weeks, so I'll be gone for a year as well. I think it's a fantastic company, and I can't wait to tell you a bit more about it today.
Excellent, and congratulations on that news. It will be so glad we were able to talk to you. Said before, just before you head off, would you mind just telling us a little bit more about who VMware are and what sort of work they do? That's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a software company, and we always say that we're like the biggest company you've never heard of. There's like over 34,000 people. We've got over 50 locations across the world. We provide solutions in a couple of different kind of portfolios. Like the whole work from anywhere is one of our areas. The fact that people can work from home, can actually access everything they need to do their job from sitting at home, has been a massive kind of area for us during the pandemic. As well as like cloud, the ability for companies to choose between like the hybrid or public or private cloud. We allow companies to, I suppose, have flexibility to choose whatever technology solutions they want, and we make everything work together. So we kind of say that we build the digital foundation to allow companies to kind of create their digital transformation.
Excellent, thank you. And just, I suppose, sticking that idea of being able to work from anywhere. I know, Joris, you mentioned joined the company from Belgium, currently in the Madrid office or in the Barcelona office. Have you been working from home a lot? How has that kind of factored in? Have you just recently come to the office? What does that look like post-pandemic?
No, so yeah, I haven't seen any offices of VMware yet. So I joined the company in the middle of the pandemic. I am sick of the white wall in front of me. The office in Barcelona is currently slightly opening up. So I'm just having a short visit at home, and then next week I will finally see my colleagues, not in front of a camera anymore, but face to face, being able to have a chit chat with a coffee, and very much looking forward to that.
Fantastic. And I suppose then, just to stay with this, I said you mentioned about joining during the pandemic. How, if I'm asked, did you sort of get into your current career at VMware? What kind of journey has that been for you?
Well, I can only speak positive about the whole hiring process. I got approached by one of the many talent acquisition people within the team of VMware. They're great to work with. Scouting for a person in their academy program for the sales team. So I got that role, one of the many roles that they were handing out. So very luckily, and they have guided us in the most amazing way, virtually, knowing that was the first year of the pandemic. So I got scouted, let's say, I think that was October 2019, so before the pandemic hit. And then the academy program started in July 2020. So 3 months into pandemic, working from home. What is Zoom? How do we organize this? And it went amazing. Like my experience on the onboarding phase has been great. Computer has been sent home. We got lunch packages. There were after work games, drinks, and stuff organized. So I can definitely not complain about how we were onboarded during a pandemic, not knowing even what was happening these days.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Jack, would you say it's a very sort of similar situation for you? So how long have you been in the company and how have you got into it?
Yeah. So I've had the exact same situation. I joined about obviously a year and a half ago, so mid-pandemic as well. Yes, completely virtual. I did actually manage to make it into the office a couple of weeks ago, where to be honest, I didn't actually get much work done that day because it was just so nice to actually be around people again. So yeah, it's nice now things are opening back up and getting to know my team a bit better rather than just being on a Zoom with them.
Do you feel to some extent that you would have preferred to have done that onboarding in person, or do you think that there hasn't been much I suppose comparing to maybe other jobs you've held in the past, do you think there's maybe been a massive difference in that caused by COVID, or what does that look like, if I may ask?
For me personally, it was quite like a seamless process. I think from joining my previous company in person, you kind of have like a 2-day offsite and be in a room sort of learning everything as quickly as possible before you get started. But they've made it work virtually quite well anyway. And I think it was nicer as well because there was probably people within the team that I would never meet anyway. So like I sit in an EMEA team. So to be honest, a lot of my colleagues I won't actually meet in person for a long time, irrespective of the pandemic. So it's been quite nice actually having that onboarding virtually because it's probably given me more of a chance to get to know the wider team than just the immediate people I work with.
Excellent, thank you. And Mairead, what has your journey sort of been into VMware?
Yeah, I did a real interview in a real office and then went into the office about 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, I think that I just saw an opening and applied, and I had been working in the computer games industry, which was, Electronic Arts and BioWare. And I was like, oh, I love this industry. It's so cool. But I had to move to like where I'd bought a house. And when I applied for VMware, I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm moving into this really small company. Don't know anything about them. And like within the first few days, you're like, wow, we're so big. And you're blown away by the fact that like people are just so nice. There's very, very, like everyone is just so approachable, no matter how senior they are. It's kind of scary like that. I don't know, I said to my manager, I want an idea. And it was like within a couple of days, I was presenting to the VP and they were like, okay, yeah, do it. And I was like, I'm scared now, that it's so flat in terms of like who you can approach. And I think that people in more senior positions, they actually want to help. There's not this kind of like arrogance of like, who are you even trying to talk to me? Like I'm senior. It's just the door is always open and they're so happy to like help other people. So it's been fantastic. I think I've never felt as part of the family as I do in VMware.
I suppose, and as a follow-up question, so I appreciate that Jack and Joris may not be able to answer this, but how has it changed in sort of your day-to-day as we have adjusted to the pandemic and we've gone to working from home and sort of now on the fence coming back to work or not going back to work, what has that change been then for you from your position?
For my actual position, what I do was always university recruitment. And I used to, get on a plane in October and probably come home around December and just try to get to as many countries as possible. So when we moved to virtual, it actually gave us an opportunity to do something different. So I remember we got our chief technology officer to do an event and I advertised it across EMEA and we had like over 1,000 students join that first day. And I was like, oh my God, this costs hardly anything to do. And, we've had massive success and we're building our brand. I think we were actually surprised about how even as a team, because we used to have like these silos of people here and people here, there was all these groups, but suddenly because we were all at home as a team, we became a closer unit because we were all in the same boat. So like, I think there's been, obviously there's like positives and negatives, but like, I think for working from home, like we've changed our approach in VMware now that I think almost all of our roles have the opportunity to be remote. So they might be based in the UK, for example, but you can work from anywhere in the UK, unless, like you're in a particular role that you have to be somewhere in terms of like a region or sales or something like that. So I think now, like, as we think about going back into the office, we all know we have that flexibility to be able to work from anywhere. We can go into the office if we want to go into the office. We can work from home. It's completely up to you. And I think like the company puts a lot of trust in you to be able to do your job, but without like feeling like you have to be online all the time.
Fantastic, thank you. And so do you think that's going to stick around a lot now as we sort, because I know the word hybrid working gets thrown around a lot at the moment, and I wonder if that's something that maybe whether or not the company will stick to this or sort of pursue its own hybrid. I don't know, what if you have any ideas on what that looks like.
We definitely will have this hybrid model going forward. Like, as I said, like we provide solutions to other companies to allow their people to work from anywhere. So it was kind of crazy that we didn't all kind of have that option before. Well, a lot of people already did. Like we knew, when we were told to go home and work from home, everyone was like, okay, this is straightforward. It's no big deal to send all your staff home. And we adapted pretty well. But I do think like there's some merits to going into the office. Like I went in last week and we had a team meeting, and afterwards we sat around and talked about some different things, and you get kind of a like energy and connection from actually meeting people like over just having a Zoom call. So I think the hybrid model is probably here to stay. It's just finding like the balance of like, how often you want to go into the office. Like honestly, at the start, I was saying I never wanted to go back into the office, and like, last week when the office opened, I was like one of the first people in there. So I think you miss people.
I would just like echo on the flexible working thing. It's like so many companies say like, oh, we're flexible working, and they're really not. Like genuinely at VMware, they really champion it. Like especially I know within my own team, one of my colleagues has like a young daughter, so she sort of works quite random hours when she's not doing a school pickup or childcare and things like that. As I was saying before this call got started, but I take a lunch break to go out to the gym and then work a bit later sometimes if I need to. So it really is like championed here, and I think that's a really nice thing. You don't feel like guilty for not being online from 9 to 5:30 or the usual business hours.
And then if I can stay with you then, Jack, out of curiosity, do you think that you'll continue to sort of work remotely? Do you think you'll slowly sort of phase back in, heading to the office? What does the future look hybrid to you? What are your plans going forward?
To be honest, it will kind of just depend on what's happening and when. I haven't really got like a set plan, and as Mairead was saying, it's all optional. No one's being forced back to an office. It is completely optional. I did enjoy going in and seeing my team, and I wouldn't mind maybe doing like one day a week. But yeah, I'll just see how I feel. I guess it might be a case if I just wake up one day and fancy a trip, and other days not.
Absolutely, there's something quite nice about avoiding a commute. I can definitely concur on that. Joris, out of curiosity, I mean, so you sort of mentioned the idea of getting bored of the white wall. Will you be straight back in the office all the time? So will you be making more use of this sort of flexible working?
No, I think, and echoing on what Jack and Mairead said as well, it's like I'm pro the hybrid role. I don't see myself going back from Monday to Friday into the office. First of all, what I've heard from friends and colleagues that have been going last week or weeks before, it is incredibly exhausting to be social again, apparently, after being 18 months not so well social, but not social face to face during that coffee, passing each other in the hallway. So I think that will definitely be a big adaptation. But apart from that as well, I think even though COVID has given us so many restrictions, we've been also so free to do whatever we want to do in our free time. I mean, going on a weekend trip, VMware has a lot of international people that are relocated to different places that want to see their family, that want to do that have to do business trips, and that they connect that with another holiday trip. It is really nice to be able to work wherever you want, whenever you want. So I think most people will go to the office on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then maybe, go already enjoy their weekend in another country, but still be able to work Friday and not need to take that holiday, which I think is an amazing way of working to do.
I just wanted to add one other example, like as in I have a horse. Obviously, because I'm pregnant, I haven't ridden my horse in ages. But I could be over and take like a longer lunch break and like be on the horse and get a message like on my watch being like, "Oh, you have to approve something," and I take out my phone. And I'm like, "Toot toot toot," approved. And like I tell my manager that, and it's like, that's what VMware is all about, go with you. Like, this is exactly what you should be doing. And one day I got, someone took a picture of me on my phone next to my horse, and I think I tagged like VMware Life on it. And it's been used in all their like LinkedIn backgrounds and stuff, work from anywhere. And there's a picture of me and my horse. So I'm like famous now.
Were you aware the picture was being taken before this? Oh, no.
I submitted it, so like in fairness.
just sort of logged on one day and went, oh goodness, that's me. And then just
I wasn't aware they were making the LinkedIn things out of it. And one of the girls on my team messaged me and was like, oh, I love the picture of you and your horse on LinkedIn. I was like, I wouldn't be posting pictures of my horse on LinkedIn. And I saw. So if anyone checks out my LinkedIn profile, which you can completely add me, you'll see that background there, and that's me and my horse.
Oh, I love that. Oh, it's wonderful. Okay, I think let's move on to some more questions. And that is going to be my takeaway. I think this afternoon is I'm now going to have to go away and just go back to your LinkedIn and check. But oh wait, there we go, we've got it. And I would strongly encourage people in the audience to reach out and connect with our panelists. We've got already had some great points today, and no doubt we're going to have many more. And I'm sure they're all keen to connect. But I guess then moving forward, I don't know if one of you is particularly feels like you're best equipped to just tell us a little bit more sort of things about ERGs and sort of staff networks at VMware. So the LGBTQ plus network and sort of other diversity networks. I don't know if maybe Joris, I don't know if that was anything anything about, or if any of you feel best equipped to take on that front.
Sure, but I saw Jack making the attempt to speak.
The microphone comes down. Yeah. So when I'm ready to answer.
Yeah, go for it. I will jump in afterwards.
Yeah, no worries. So we have like what we call pods at VMware. So it stands for Power of Difference groups. And there's a variety of different ones that we have, like Black at VMware, Asian at VMware, I think there's Latinos at VMware, veterans at VMware. So there's a group for everyone. And obviously Pride at VMware as well, which I'm part of. So there's a global pod that everyone kind of sits in for the Pride one, and we have a weekly call, and it's really interesting because we kind of influence like some of the direction of the company and making sure that like we're using correct terminology, we're not being discriminative, and loads of different things like that. But then on top of that, we also have like local pods as well. So I'm part of the UK and Ireland Pride pod, and then within that we kind of are responsible for making VMware more inclusive, really, and we get involved in a variety of different things. Since I've joined, we've run a few events. We had Gareth Thomas as a panelist on one of our events. Kelly Maloney we did recently. I want to say who we've potentially going to be booking for our next one, but I just realised I can't because we haven't signed any contracts yet. But that will be coming soon as well. So yeah, there's loads of things to get involved in, and I think it's nice because I keep using the word champion, but like it is really championed at VMware. It is an inclusive company. It's not just some like corporate thing. Like the company invests like so much money into making people feel welcome and safe in the company. And having worked at a variety of different companies prior to being at VMware, I can honestly say this is one of the best place I've been so far. I'll let you
yeah, to echo on that, I mean, what I've heard from many people is that if they ask how is diversity and inclusion in your company and why corporate, that a lot of people are often afraid to work for a corporate because they will be treated as a number. That is something that I do not feel at all within VMware. Even though I have experienced my full VMware experience online, I definitely don't feel like I am just a number in the waiting list. No, because we are really being part of a community, me being part of the LGBTQ plus community myself. Within the Barcelona office, we have organized multiple events as well during Pride Month to make more awareness of this, to let people that maybe are outed, not outed, still doubting of who they are, what they want to be, to really let them feel that on the work floor they can be themselves as well, and not only have to be that after working hours or during the weekend. And I think that's a very important thing if you find this important to look out for in this job search within a company. I had, for example, the opportunity through GWork and thanks to Mary to speak, I think 2 months ago on the hiring process as an LGBTQ plus community member and how that goes within corporates. And yeah, like I said, within VMware, I never had to say that I'm gay. I mean, there was also never that question, but I also never had that feeling that I would not be respected as a gay man within the company. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And interesting. So I know I said you've both come into these networks, these pods, sort of from the perspective of joining during COVID, and now, you know, sort of pending territories as time moves on, we're starting to slowly relax restrictions more and more. And I wonder, out of curiosity, what you think is the future for these pods then now, because obviously they'll have been doing things pre-pandemic. You've sort of come into it as they've moved digitally for the pandemic. And I wondered if either of you had any thoughts on what you think it would look like, or maybe should look like post-pandemic, or as we now start to reopen. I mean, Jack, I don't know what you thought about that.
The microphone comes down again. To be honest, before I joined, there was probably a lot more like in-person events happening. I know, like in one of the offices before I joined, they held like a Pride event and things. So it'll be nice to be doing things like that again. I think like we would end up having like external speakers come in like in person as well. But I think it really just depends on what the future of the job looks like, I suppose, because if loads of people continue to work from home, then obviously virtual is still a better format for communicating with people. But as the global Pride pod, I mean, we've got it's trying to find a time that suits everyone is a nightmare, because we've got people who join from India, China, America, so we've got every time zone covered, and we all manage to meet once a week on a call, but that will obviously stay virtual as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the working from home situation in the whole pandemic has given us the opportunity to work brighter and not only look within your office or within your region. So definitely thanks COVID to that, and to be able to share these experiences all around the globe with our offices. But yeah, I am incredibly looking forward to start. I'm also part of the sports and social pod within the Barcelona office, where LGBTQ plus or the Pride month was also be celebrated. We were very creative. We tried to do certain online events, but yeah, I'm super excited to start organizing events in person and really keep the eye on the inclusion of anyone that needs to be included and need that extra attention. So yeah, it's going to be some fun events coming up hopefully soon.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm just curious, as we've had a question in the chat just sort of about to what this applies, and thank you, Mary, for sort of sharing that people can head over to VMware's website or their page over on my GWork to access opportunities. But I suppose that follows up a curiosity for me then, as you've mentioned how like sort of these pods sort of break down sort of into regional and sort of further down in that way. A lot of questions I think given to a lot of sort of companies, particularly international companies, is about what it looks like for these LGBT networks, perhaps in areas or territories where it's not acceptable, or it's not as, maybe not within the law. And I don't know to what extent, I don't know if you are able to answer, but if you knew anything about what these pods look like in that capacity. Sorry, it's a very mouthy question. But
No, that's fine. I suppose it comes with its challenges for sure. I mean, if you think of the EMEA region that we all sit within, as you can imagine, you've got like very different rules for different places, and because of, unfortunately, and I hate the fact, and I argue this all the time, but unfortunately for like safety reasons, there's obviously certain regions that can't have a Pride pod, and so on. But I think that the general rule is still that every office is considered a safe space, and that no one should be discriminated against. Like, we've still got our company values that they might not match legal standings in certain areas, but unfortunately that is how it is, and we can't put fellow employees at risk. I mean, if you think like, I think possibly in Russia, like you can consider like the pride flag as like propaganda or something is how they view it, isn't it? I don't know the ins and outs, but as you can imagine, because of that, we wouldn't be able to send our private communications to the Russia team because you know, they would be at risk themselves. So that is the sad part of it. But obviously, anyone who works with VMware and lives in that region will still know that they're safe with Workwise.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And you're definitely right. So, you know, it is really a difficult situation for a lot of businesses trying to balance between making sure that they're not putting their staff at risk while also telling their staff, no, you are supported and we do care. So, but no, thank you very much. That always fascinates me to know. I guess carrying on then, for you, both of you then having come into the business sort of within the last sort of year and a half, sort of the pandemic period, you've had interactions, of course, with your colleagues at a virtual length. And I wondered to what extent how visible maybe other LGBTQ plus members of staff were, if there were any sort of role models or anything in the office. I suppose that as a way of curiosity, you know, whether or not it was something where you felt you could immediately see yourself at the business as an LGBTQ plus person, or whether that was something you went further to find the pods and things like that. Joris, maybe you wanted to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know what how the hiring process or the onboarding process for Jack looked like, but as I was part of the academy program, my onboarding process was quite extended, and I'm very, very happy with that. But I think week 1 or week 2, Merit, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we got they promoted, or they showed us all the different pods that there were internally within your office, your regional office, for me Barcelona, but also within NEMIA, with EMEA, within the whole corporate world. So VMware really promotes the knowledge of the pod, and then of course it's your turn to take that step. They don't obligate you to join, but they make you aware that it exists. And I think for a lot of people that are maybe still doubting their interest, or that they're not feeling comfortable, it is a first step to get involved in certain activities, to be more outed. People like, for example, me, I am full on open about it, and I was immediately, okay, I want to join this. I love this. This is only giving more love towards my appreciation towards the company.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I'm very, very grateful. And I said, so keen to hear on that. Although I am now going to pop over to you, Mairead, if that's all right, to talk a little bit more about recruitment and talent acquisition, and maybe some pointers and tips. So I guess my first opening question then is about graduate opportunities specifically, and wider opportunities in general. And I just wondered, for VMware, is there a distinction between the two? What, you know, if someone's coming, say, fresh out of university, or someone's, you know, maybe coming from another company, what kind of opportunities exist at VMware?
Yeah, well, if we kind of focus in first on the graduate program, like Joris says, he was part of VMware Academy, which are graduates that we take in from all across Europe. So every year, I think we do an intake. It starts in July. And what we consider a graduate is somebody who's, you know, just finished university, maybe a university within the current year. Like, I think it's 1 year before the start date. They'll join the program. There'll be probably, I don't know how many was in part of your group, Joris, but there's, you know, I don't know, 50 or 60 that service the sales and the service organization. So that's like sales, it's technical pre-sales, it's more technical people like technical consultants and technical account managers. But like, honestly, like, people are probably hearing these phrases already, being like, oh, I never studied technical account management in school. Nobody knows any of these roles. Like, we're still, as recruiters, going, okay, what do they do? So we're looking just for people with potential, people who, you know, I suppose are passionate about technology. And that doesn't mean that you're a coder or anything, but you see how technology can have a positive impact on the world and on, you know, the future, and people that have the ability to learn. Because I think when you work in a tech company, that's one thing you can count on, that you're always going to be learning new things. So it's a very, very broad, I suppose, spectrum of, like, you know, skill sets in terms of, like, depending on how technical or non-technical you want to be, you can go into like sales versus going into technical consultant. And we hire people from, as I said, all across EMEA, but we have these programs in America as well. We have them in APJ. So there are different programs depending on kind of like the timelines of universities. Now, of course, then we always have our industry roles, which is kind of everything else. And as I mentioned at the start when I introduced myself, like my team is due to become, instead of university talent, is emerging talent. So what we would be looking for is, the more kind of junior roles. So even it could be people that have maybe gone into one industry and like done a couple of years and decided, oh, I want to get into tech, and they're doing a kind of a total change in their role. And they want to come in, as a more junior because they're changing their job really. So that will kind of be something that you'll hear more about probably in the next few years. But the industry roles, again, like I think I checked my works before I logged on, it was like 2,600 roles up there, across the world. So depending on where you're from, what you're interested in, where you want to work, I'm sure you'll find something out there for you. There's a vast range of roles in the technology industry, such as like even Jack working in marketing, is finance, is R&D. There's so many different roles.
Excellent, thank you. And so what do the applicants, from start to finish, what does that application process look like for an applicant? What kind of things can our attendees expect to sort of see during their application?
Yeah, it's actually a good opportunity to promote like how we're changing how we hire as well. A lot of job descriptions, you have a whole set of requirements, and we're moving away from that, and we're focused more on job outcomes. So that's called our Go hiring model. So it's more on like, do you have the potential to do this job? Not have you done this job before? So obviously, if you're interested in a role, the first step you do is apply. Or, again, networking is always a really good idea as well, to try to find someone from the company and ask a couple of questions while you apply. Once you've applied then for the role, the recruiter will get in contact with you, and there's generally kind of 3 steps in the interview. So there's a discovery, which is just going to be a call, maybe with the recruiter or the hiring manager, just to find out a little bit about you and talk about the role and talk about, how you match. It's kind of a 2-way conversation. Then outside of that, then we have a kind of a interview that's all about our ethic values. So we have these values. I know a lot of companies have these values, but like in VMware, our ethic values are like everything that we stand for. So you'll almost have an interview to see how, you fit into those in terms of like, your community, what you do to give back, customer integrity, these kind of things. And then there will probably be some sort of a kind of a demonstration of you on the job. So depending on what role it would be like, it might be, if it's for sales, you might have to do like a sales pitch or something. If it's a technical role, there may be like a review of some work that you've done, something like that. So the role or the actual interview types, like there's the 3 of them, but they can happen at any stage. But that's pretty much it. Like we've really streamlined our actual recruitment process. We make sure as well that we've got like great panels, diverse panels, and it becomes more of a conversation than like an interview. And I think that that's really what I felt like when in VMware, when the first time I ever did like an interview, I left the room like 2 hours later and was like, oh my God, I just made a friend. So I think that it isn't like, someone firing questions at you. It's a 2-way conversation about what you want versus what the company can offer and what the company is looking for and how your needs fit each other.
And do you think to an extent that that's maybe what helps make the company culture so easy to sort of hop into and so inclusive in that regards, the fact that even, from the get-go, from the application perhaps, that this focus seems to come around, very, not laid back, but that sort of conversational style, and being able to come around and go, oh my God, I have made a friend, from application process upwards.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think you just see it with, everyone you talk to. I remember joining the company and being on like these global meetings where, the most senior people in the company are talking, and they're talking about their personal life. They're talking about their wife having cancer, or when their kids being sick, and they're vulnerable and they're really showing who they are, and like that builds the connection immediately, and that follows throughout everyone in the company. That people are just very authentic about who they are and like their life, and I think that it just creates that culture then where everyone's happy to work together.
Fantastic. And Joris, Jack, out of curiosity, so you having both been through this process in the last sort of year and a half, 2 years, I wonder, is there anything you'd wish you'd known going into the process, or sort of tips or advice you'd have for people going through it?
Do you want to go first, Joris? I might need to think about that
one. I mean, I like I said in the beginning, the whole hiring process for me as an academy student went super smoothly, super clear, straightforward, and I can tell you, getting those looking for a job and all those hiring process, they are a mess, and it's horrible often. And what I really liked about VMware is that they were just open from the beginning. Like Marriott said, like, why acting like you're a different company? Because after a while you will figure it out, and most likely you will leave the company, and that's a loss for the company, and not a loss in only talent but also in time and in money. So that's great about VMware, is that they're just promoting themselves from day one, the first time that they meet you, towards the day that you start your job. So yeah, I can literally not, regarding the whole hiring process, I cannot say anything bad. It was open, it was clear. You immediately felt that your recruiter was a friend that you could call to for any questions during the process, when you had, for example, a sales call to prepare, or just general questions regarding relocating, etc. So I think it's very important that companies these days start being honest and open from day one. Otherwise, yeah, you will figure it out after a while.
Excellent, thank you. And Jack, I don't know if there's anything you wish you'd known going into it, or any advice you'd give.
Just trying to think. Yeah, I would just say be yourself. I know it sounds very like fluffy and generic, but I think if you don't be afraid to like show your personality, because that's how you're going to build the connections with people. When I remember, I think I had like 3 or 4 interviews before being offered the job here, and I think people appreciate a lot more. This is just general advice. It's not even necessary for VMware, but just be yourself, have a chat with people, build your connections. Within the IT industry, like everyone kind of knows everyone. So even if you don't get the job you've gone for, like you will have built some connections there that could come back around.
Yeah, well, I'm going to jump on that as well. Something that I forgot, something that I maybe would have wished to know, and it's something that is more than normal, but you don't think about that. Even though if you're in a process, ask to speak someone of the team. Super good thing to do as well. Like you often get just in contact with the manager, talent acquisition, etc. But by first of all showing that you want to speak with someone that might be your potential colleague that is doing the same role, you're first of all showing interest in the role, and secondly, you get the insights that management is not giving you, and that can also immediately show you if that role is something for you or if it's not, and then better to quit it in the beginning than waste each other's time.
Excellent, thank you. Coming back to you then, Mairead, sort of looking at this application process, you've hinted at this and you've hit on it a couple of times. So out of curiosity, what really is VMware looking for in its applicants? Are there any particular sort of skills or talents or things that really stand out to VMware when people apply?
It completely depends on, like, I suppose, role by role, but at the same time, I feel like every employee that we hire has the same kind of, I think curiosity is probably the biggest word that I would use, that everybody has that want to kind of like learn more and to, be able to track down information and, be self-sufficient, to be like, okay, this is how I find this information. I think that's probably a really big one, especially for graduates, because you're coming in and you're not going to have a lot of experience. You will probably have had work experience here and there. But we want people that, it's just that you have that willingness to learn, that you'll know what you don't know, and you'll know how to maybe fill those gaps, either by, self-learning yourself or by building connections within the team and being able to ask for help. I think that would probably be what sets people apart in, the interview process, is like they're, honest about who they are, what they know and what they don't know, and also, what they're willing to do. Even from that very first question that we ask, which is like, can you tell me what you know about VMware? You can tell a lot whether people have gone and done any research or they're like, I don't know. And it's like, okay, you're starting on a bad foot here.
Excellent, thank you. And I guess then my final question in terms of recruitment, I guess this is one for all three of you, is that, we'll have attendees and sort of people that will watch this back that will be LGBTQ plus graduates or sort of perhaps LGBTQ plus job hunters. And out of curiosity, if you had any advice you could give them in terms of, applying for VMware, going into the workplace, into this industry, I just wondered what kind of advice you'd give. Jack, do you mind if we come to you first?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. To be honest, I would just stick with the same advice I was saying before. Just be yourself at the end of the day. I remember I've obviously been in the tech industry now about 8 years or so. And I remember my first job, you kind of end up doing this whitewashing of yourself to try and pretend you're not gay or whatever, because you think you're going to be more accepted and do better and all of this stuff. And one of the biggest things I've had from my career to date is just that learning of self-acceptance, because people will accept you. Ultimately, work is going to be one of the safest places for an LGBTQ plus person. So yeah, just make the most of it, and never hide who you are, because your personality is what makes people warm to you.
Thank you very much. Mairead, I don't know if there was any advice you'd like to give.
Yeah, I think that turn it back on the company as well. You want to work for a great company and just ask them what they're doing for diversity and inclusion and what initiatives they have. That can be one of your questions when they always ask, do you have any questions? And you're like, So yeah, I think find out as much as you can to make sure that company is a fit for you, as well as, you being a fit for it. And I do agree, just don't change who you are, be your authentic self, because it'll help you build connections, and you're more likely to, get the role that you're suited for, that, is meant for you.
Forgot to click unmute. We are 2 years almost into using Zoom now, and still learning. We're building on it, everyone. Oh goodness. Joris, last but not least, if there's any advice you'd like to give.
Yeah, echoing both Jack and Merritt. At the end of the day, you're working at 36 hours, 40 hours at your job. This is a big part of your life on a weekly or monthly or just yearly base. Be yourself, because you're only fooling yourself and not the others. Because after a while, people get to know who you really are, and there's no reason to hide yourself. And like what Mary said, if you find these kind of pots that we've been talking about, or diversity and inclusion, very important, ask straight away within your first interview. How do you stand towards LGBTQ plus? How do you stand against people of color? What is the percentage of female leaders in the company? These are all really good questions that you can ask to get to know if the company really pays attention to us and that diversity and inclusion, and then you can immediately already figure out what way you can go with the company.
Excellent, thank you very much. I guess then, before I take questions from our audience, and guys, if you do have questions, do feel free to pop them down either in the chat or the Q&A box. I can see we've already got a couple in the Q&A box. I'm looking forward to coming to those. But just wondering, before we do, I know at the beginning we touched on sort of who VMware are and what sort of work you do, but I just wondered if you'd be able to tell us, perhaps for our attendees and viewers that aren't as familiar with perhaps VMware more intimately, or even just the industry, what your actual day-to-day looks like, what sort of your area of work covers. Mairead, do you mind if we start with you at all?
Yeah. So I will wake up in the morning and be like, oh my God, what events did I forget to organize today? Generally, my day-to-day is just about attending events across Europe. They could be like career fairs, they could be talks like this, and talking about VMware and telling students about the roles that we have available, and just answering questions and trying to get as much visibility into the company as possible. That's, I think, in a nutshell, what I'm doing.
Excellent. Everything all right there, Jack?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened. I just like suddenly lost connection. It's joys of tech. There you go. So even someone who works at a tech company would still struggle with all of this stuff. But sorry, I just want to remind me what the question was again.
Oh my God, just if you could just tell us a little bit more about what your day to day is, what kind of area you work in, sort of the work you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the partner marketing manager for the UK and Ireland. So I work with all of our business partners in the UK and Ireland, and work on their marketing activity, budget management, making sure that we've running effective campaigns, developing a decent pipeline, all of that kind of stuff. But it's a really nice role. My day-to-day kind of looks like I just have back-to-back calls really with partners. I'm quite a social person, so it suits me quite well. And it's a nice community to be in for sure, because everyone kind of knows everyone a bit, and it's nice to just spend a lot of my time chatting, which I'm quite good at. So yeah, that's me.
I'm very curious. I think you answered it maybe a little bit at the end there. A lot of, and there's often when research is sort of done into sort of B2B positions and people that work with partners, clients, etc., where they don't necessarily feel comfortable being out or being sort of necessarily their authentic self. And I just wondered, is that something that, you know, do you feel you're able to be out with sort of clients and partners, or that's?
Definitely. I mean, I've been educating most of my partners on the Free Britney movement as it's been progressing. So I mean, I really don't struggle with that. And I don't. It's a hard one, isn't it? I think like there's that level always of like masking yourself. I've just never been very good at doing that, obviously. So but it's nice because I think it's like professional, but it's like fun professional. It's not every call is about business. Like a big part of my role is just making sure that we do have good relationships with our partners. So I would say 50% of my calls are just a general chit chat and what happened at the weekend, what you're up to, and those kind of things, which is nice.
Oh, that's superb. I'm now almost inspired to start making sure that our partners know more about the Free Britney movement. That's
Exactly.
wonderful. That's activism in action, frankly. Oh, thank you so much for that. And finally, Joris, sort of, you know, what kind of area are you working in? What does your day-to-day look?
So yeah, I myself work also with partners closely, but the sales perspective. So partner sales associates. So as VMware is working, I think 70-80% of our deals come through partners. Partners are one of our most important stakeholders aside from our customers themselves. So what I do is I'm most likely involved with multiple stakeholders on a daily basis: partners, salespeople, the account executives on the field, and the customers, and just making sure that the deals go through, that they're approved, to see if we can cross-sell, upsell, and these kind of things. So the really sales part, which is also most often or most likely chit chat. Unfortunately, I did not think about Free Britney, but luckily she got free right now. So we maybe have to find another topic to talk about.
And I guess, and so again, out of curiosity, so as I asked Jack, again, is it a situation where you feel like you are able to be, you know, out and authentically yourself with these stakeholders, or what does it look like?
Absolutely. Like I know for a fact that if someone turned around and said something not very nice to me, that obviously the company would have my back on those issues. It's never happened, and such would it never does, because it wouldn't be very nice. But so no, absolutely. But I think you just feel fully supported by the company. It's again, come back to where champion, but it really is here. And like, you know, when I was at my first company, I remember it was like frowned upon that I'd changed our Twitter logo at the time to like a pride logo, or pride background logo kind of thing. Whereas here it's like that kind of thing is encouraged. If anyone would like to follow me on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn, I've done a series of blogs with our partners as well, just about how we can make the tech industry more inclusive. So it's really something that's pushed here.
Excellent, thank you for that. And Joris, you find this is sort of a similar situation on your end as well?
I mean, I definitely have grown, and then let's say starting from my personal life towards now in my professional life, to just accept myself. I'm fully out. I'm fully proud. It's not that I'm walking around with a tape on my head and say I'm an LGBTQ activist. That not. But if a partner, client, who is the other stakeholder would ask me what my well, one of these questions, I would definitely be there first to speak out. If there is something that does not follow the vision of VMware being inclusion and diversion, I will be the first one to speak up as well and educate them, as I think we are now in a position to do so. Unfortunately, for many people, it is still a big problem. It is still taboo. We're far from there yet to be proudly out, proudly be accepted. So we just need to keep on having sessions like these, keep on promoting and keep on speaking, and be proud and happy. And I think then we can step by step make the world a bit more rainbow and all the other colors that are now in the flag.
I love that. Excellent. All right. I think just because I've just seen the time, I think I'm going to head over to our Q&A, guys. I said if you do have questions, we don't have tons of time, so do get them in as soon as possible. Let's start. I think this might be one for you, Mairead, just around the hiring process. Grace asks, how long is the hiring process?
Well, Grace, it depends on the type of role you're going for, because our graduate roles, for example, we start advertising them in September and they don't start until the July afterwards. Now, we wouldn't obviously have a hiring process that would last that long, but we would normally have a couple of months where, we have people applying before, we're screening them, interviewing them, and then might finally do an assessment day in like early January. So that's kind of one example. But for our industry roles, they would move pretty quickly. Like a job would get advertised. It might be a couple of weeks for applicants to build up, then the recruiter would go in and start doing the screens, the shortlist, and bring them forward. And you could have somebody hired within, a month to a month and a half. So I think we're always trying to move fast on the roles, not have people hanging around waiting. And as I said, like we've really streamlined our hiring process as well to reduce down the number of interviews as well, because I feel like there has been probably times in this company and other companies where they were finding it hard to make a decision and put in like extra interviewers here, there, and everywhere to try to make their decision. So all that has gone now. And I would hope that if you apply to something, Grace, you'll have a very streamlined experience.
Excellent. Thank you. Joris, I see you're taking Shorsha's question about relocating to different offices around the globe. Although, if you're able, if I just bring that one up so we can, just for anyone else that didn't see it, out of curiosity, as Shorsha asked, you're working remotely, but what is there any support at all? How is the company able to support in terms of relocating around the world? I think it was, which different offices? I don't know. Maybe if Mairead, you're best equipped.
Yeah. Well, for example, like, for Joris and all of his co-workers, they were relocated to Barcelona to start their role, because that is where the role will start, and they'll spend a couple of years in Barcelona and then go back to their home country, which again, VMware will pay for the relocation. The same for, anybody doing internships. If they're hired for a role, they'll be relocated. So we cover all the costs, make it as seamless as possible, and work with like a relocation agency to help you to book your flights and pay for your flights, and bring your horse or whatever. Depending, there's actually different levels, so depending on how senior you are, you'll get like more stuff. I remember looking at it at one stage and I was like, I wouldn't be able to bring my horse. I'm not there yet. I suppose then it depends then, like if you're based in the UK and you're like, oh, I want to go and work in America, it kind of does depend on the actual role, because for a lot of the junior roles, I don't think we'd be looking at the talent pool in the local country itself rather than looking externally, because there is probably stuff in terms of like immigration, visas, things like that. But as you progress, like you could just join VMware in the office closest to you, be working there for a couple of years, see an opportunity and be like, oh, actually, I want to move to Barcelona, or I want to move to the UK. I've applied for this job. And if they're like, yep, we need you there, they'll pay for the relocation. So yeah, it is flexible. It kind of just depends on the role and the opportunity.
Excellent, thank you. And I think our final question, how are allies included in the pods? Jack, Joris, I think you might be better to chance. Just
I can
allies
take that one.
immediately, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, anyone and everyone's welcome to be in the pod. So in the UK Pride pod, we've got straight people as well. It's not restrictive. You don't have to be like LGBTQ plus to be in the pod. So yeah, allies fully welcome just as much as anyone else. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so very much. Just looking at the time, I think we will wrap that up there. But I'd like to say a big thank you to all three of you for joining us this afternoon. We're very, very grateful to have had you here. And I think we had a really, really good sort of discussion. And so I'm very much hoping that some of our attendees can reach out to you afterwards. And so another big thank you for being there. Also, please go.
So yeah, I just wanted to say thanks G-Work to organizing this event and making this a priority, or making people more aware about the inclusion and diversity. And indeed, any attendee, feel free to reach out to us on any social platform, preferably LinkedIn though.
Yeah.
And any questions whatsoever, I'm more than happy to answer.
Go check out my horse.
Maybe you'll be at VMware soon, so there we go.
Oh, I love it. That is our quote. Oh, superb. Well, yeah, but a big thank you to VMware. And as I said at the beginning, VMware are a partner of my G-Work. So if you want to check out their opportunities, events, other sort of bits and pieces going on, you can do that over on their page. For those of you who are watching live, there will be an email follow-up, as I said, with any additional information regarding sort of application opportunities, links to the page, etc. If you're watching this as a recording, there should hopefully be links beneath, and we're very, very grateful again. Other bits and pieces of housekeeping while I remember, the 17th of November, Workfair is back. If you're not familiar with Workfair, it is our day-long virtual careers fair, which is an opportunity for you as a graduate, as a professional who's perhaps seeking other employment, to meet some amazing inclusive employers, including VMware, who will be there with their own stand, sort of where you can meet members of their team like you have today, as well as sort of browse vacancies, drop in CVs, and other bits and pieces. So do go and check that out. You can find that over on our website. And again, a follow-up link will be coming after this event. So nonetheless, thank you very much, everyone. It's been lovely to talk to all of you. We're very grateful to those who've joined us, and we'll see you again next time. Goodbye.